Great. So if I can just talk a few minutes about what Polygon does and essentially what is our value proposition, then it will become clear, right, on how we can sort of best support you guys. So what is Polygon? So Polygon is a scalability solution built for the Ethereum ecosystem, right? And the Ethereum ecosystem happens to be the largest, most diverse, and sort of which this is the blockchain network which has the most number of developers, the most number of users, the most amount of liquidity, and is the most widely used network out there. However, because it's one of the most widely used networks out there, it suffered from some scalability problems, which are attributed to both the amount of traffic it's seeing and also its architecture. And what we kind of realized is that if you want to take this already very popular concept, right, this already very popular network, which is proven technology, which has been, its code has been audited over the past 8 years, and if you wanted to take this blockchain concept of Ethereum to the next level, then we would have to create this additional infrastructure, right, centered around scalability. And what do I mean by scalability? Very fast transactions and very cheap transactions, right? And if you can do something very quickly, and if you can do the transactions at a very low cost, then that essentially allows the common man to do transactions. Right. So what we've seen with Ethereum and with blockchain networks is that as they become more congested, the gas fees or the network transaction fees has become extremely high. Right. So typical gas fees or the transaction fee on the Ethereum network is something around $10 or sometimes even $30, or in some extreme cases, it's almost $100. Right. And what this does is it prices out the common man. Right. There are people with millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars who may not care about this, might be like, okay, fine, $100, how does it matter? But it matters to the common man. It matters to normal people like me, right, who can't afford to keep spending that much money just to use the network. Right. So imagine if you every time you swiped your Visa card, you had to pay 20% fees. You would never use that card. So it's something like that. And what the Polygon network does is it inherits all the best features of Ethereum, which is the Ethereum's technology, the type of assets and things like that. Only thing is our network is extremely fast. So the block time or the transaction time on our network is 2 seconds. And the cost of every transaction is something like $0.00004. It's practically free. And when you have something which can sort of a network which does transactions in 2 seconds, so it's like using your Uber app or like your Netflix subscription, right? Click and something happens in the next 2 seconds. It's that fast and that high performance. And at the same time, the cost of using that network is nothing. So imagine now you have the same Visa card, you're swiping it wherever you want, and neither you or the merchant has to pay has to pay thousands of a cent to do that transaction. Right. Suddenly you can take something like blockchain technology and bring it into all facets of your life, which is what we're seeing within our network, in the Polygon network, which is you can use gaming, you can do micro payments at scale, you can use decentralized finance. For example, people can lend money, people can borrow money at literally zero cost. And when I say zero cost, in the sense that typically when you have to borrow money or lend money, you go to a bank, right? And the bank will charge interest rates, they will charge certain fees. Imagine if that fees become zero. And all of that commerce is done via smart contract. And this is possible now because the cost of doing all of this is extremely low. And also the network is very fast. So if I send you money, for example, if I send you, let's say, Bitcoins, sometimes you have to wait 30, 35 minutes for the Bitcoin to show up. So it becomes practically useless in any sort of, retail scenario. But with our network, you can do that. With our network, you can send all of these tokens at a fraction of the cost within 2 seconds. And this is kind of what I feel is what can really benefit your network, that if you're looking to do any kind of blockchain based development or transactions or blockchain based commerce, right, using or leveraging our network, you can do that at scale. You can do micro payments at scale. You can do distribution of, let's say, of funds or charities at scale. All of this information becomes auditable and it becomes super fast and super inexpensive. So this is kind of what is our core value proposition, and that's why we feel that we're a very natural fit for these kind of use cases. Yeah. So I think the core premise of any blockchain, of blockchain technology in general, is that it takes out the middleman, right? So typically, whenever two people transact or do transactions with each other, there is always this problem of trust. Right. So, for example, let's say I have to send you money right now. Currently, you are in a different country and I'm in a different country. And if I'm sending you funds, You can receive the funds, but you can always say, hey, I didn't get the funds. I don't know where your funds are. Like, you could do something like that, right? So it's a common trust problem. So the problem is trust. It's not that you're a bad person. It's just a trust problem. So how do you solve this? Right. So typically, what happens is you get a middleman into the picture. So somebody like Visa comes, and the Visa says, okay, don't worry, I will take your money from across the countries. I will ensure it reaches on time. You don't have to worry, and there'll be no cheating or any of that. Only problem is I will take 7 to 10% of that fees, or in some extreme cases, maybe even 20%. So the problem which Visa is actually solving is not that the technology doesn't exist. The internet exists. Like you have it, I have access. We're having this call right now. But the problem is trust, right? That is what you need to solve. So blockchain solves that problem of trust. And how does it solve it? By creating that immutable, transparent ledger of transactions, where if I have sent you money, that transaction is there in a database which cannot be manipulated or changed. So you cannot later claim I didn't receive the money or something like that because it's there in the blockchain. Like, you can't argue about these things. So so blockchain technology at its core solves the problem of trust, right? And this is what helps the common man, because if you look at all the things a common man needs to do, I'm not talking about the rich millionaires, just the common man. Like, you want to go and get credit, you want to go to a bank, right? You want to borrow money, anything you want to do. Every time you swipe your card, every time you get any service, like even from the government, like every time a certain transaction fee or a certain percentage of your income goes away by some party who's really not adding any value to the network. He's just there as a middleman. So in cases, for example, if you're borrowing money, you have to borrow from banks who charge very high interest rates, right? Those same banks don't give you any interest if you put money into the bank. So on your savings account, you get like literally nothing in terms of interest. But if you're borrowing money, suddenly you're paying 10%. So where is all that money going? It's going to the bank. Now, if you have a blockchain system, you can borrow, like you can lend and borrow money at zero cost, right? So if for example, you can then lend money, for example, at interest rates like 5% or even lower than that, depending on the risk profile. And all of these other details, all of what the bank does now can be done through a blockchain smart contract. So what the blockchain does, it takes away all the power from all of these middlemen. It takes the power, even so in some cases, from the government, who has the ability to tax you, take your money away. And it takes all that power and it gives it to the common citizens. Because now the common citizens can interact with each other. They can transact with each other without requiring all of these different people. And this is why, to some extent, structured governments and entities tend to fear this kind of technology, because it makes many of these archaic systems, which for a very long period of time served a very important purpose. Like the bank served a very important purpose for a very long period of time, for almost a century. But now, no longer so. So these archaic systems are still in place, and we are paying the price for keeping those archaic systems in place. And they've essentially turned exploitative. And essentially, the person who gets exploited is always the common man. It's never the millionaires or possibly the people in power. So this is what blockchain technology does. It takes this power and it puts it into the hands of the common man, because now the common man can transact without any requirement of any third party, without visa, without a government, without any of these other parties. And I can transact with you, and we can do borrowing, lending, and basically, which is the heart of any economy, of any financial system, which is ability to borrow and lend money. All of this can be done through software. Like, we don't need anybody else in the middle. And this is why I feel it takes all that power away from all of these other entities which have been there for hundreds of years, which at one time were very relevant, but no longer so. And it puts it in the hands of the common man. So that's why I feel it's very transformative and it can help the common public. So I think, so when you look at competition between blockchain networks, right, it eventually comes down to a couple of things, right? So number one, definitely are network characteristics. So like I've told you, network is extremely fast and it's extremely cheap, right? Now, compared to any of the networks out there, we offer a network efficiency, as one might say, which is unparalleled, right? Literally in the blockchain world, there are very few networks who can, who we can come close to the kind of efficiency we provide. The second most important thing is also security. So you can create a network which is very fast and all of that, but you also need to provide very good security, right, for all the funds which are there in the network. So for example, if I'm sending you funds or you're sending me funds, people should be able to, sort of take those funds away in some way from, or those funds shouldn't sort of be co-opted somehow. So you need a network with very high security. And how do you create a network with very high security? You do it by creating a very decentralized network. right? So centralized authorities are prone to corruption, but decentralization, takes away that problem. Now, our network is extremely decentralized. We have over 100 nodes, or you could say validators, spread across the globe, right? Who are participants and are validating all the transactions in our network. So, which makes our network extremely decentralized, very censorship resistant, and also highly secure. So, every transaction has to be signed off by two-thirds of the validators on our network. Also, every 256 blocks in our blockchain, we will like Merkle root the transactions and we place a checkpoint of those transactions on the Ethereum network. And the reason we do that is it's like somewhat like a backup of sorts, that all the transactions can be proved, which happened on our chain can be proved on the Ethereum chain. So this gives you an added level of security. That checkpoint also has to be signed off by two-thirds of the validator. So at every level of the transaction flow, like there is two-thirds of the people have to sign off on it, and every time it's randomized. So this creates a transaction flow which is extremely secure, right? And this level of decentralization which we have makes our network extremely secure. And I think on network characteristics and on the security and decentralization of the network, we are heads above our competition. So I think this is something which makes us very unique. I think the third interesting aspect is that our network inherits all the best aspects of Ethereum, right? So we use the same Ethereum virtual machine, right? So we use the same, let's say, software as Ethereum. We use the same ERC style assets. So the tokens which you're used to on the Ethereum network, like all your ETH and all the other stable coins, etc., and all the other tokens which drive the economy on Ethereum, all of them work seamlessly out of the box on our network. Like all the code which you have on Ethereum, it works seamlessly on our network. So that means that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like the code is already there. You can just pick it up and sort of deploy it on our network and it works. And because it's that easy to use, that then creates another, sort of a network effect where developers also feel that, hey, you know what, we would rather work with this network because it's fast, it's cheap, it's also secure, and it's the same as the network we are already used to. So it becomes very easy to, sort of port your applications there. So I think these 3 points make us like I would say a top tier network. And of course now we have over 400 apps deployed on the network. We do close to almost 5 billion transactions a day. We have over $6 billion deployed on a network. So I think the market is also in a way corroborated what I'm saying right now. So So I think so definitely like I said, right, the core of blockchain technology is to take power to the common man, right? And any blockchain organization needs to sort of to be successful, I feel, and it has to sort of ascribe to the same values as the same values of the technology, right? Like so, for example, this technology was created to solve these problems so that services and sort of you could say economy could be taken to the common man and and wrested away from the hands of those who sort of seem to control it across the world in like pretty much every country. We follow the same models as well. So, for example, at a technical level, like or I won't say at a technical level, but at an organizational level, like the way we have structured our organization, we are also extremely decentralized. So we are spread all across the globe. There's no one office which people attend. Also, we have a very flat hierarchy structure. So we're just like the nodes in our network, where no one node is more powerful than the other. So there is no sort of hierarchy as such. Like employees are free to sort of make the decisions they want to. And also like we've done several like within our organization and as individuals, we've done several things. So for example, our founder, one of the founders, Sandeep, created this COVID relief fund, which actually is quite popular, and Vitalik Buterin sent $1 billion to that fund as well, and that fund has been instrumental in sort of getting ventilators, oxygen, vital medicines to to the population of people who are suffering from COVID in India. And I'm also based in India, and I can tell you here the bodies are piling up. And even now we're losing close to 4,000 people on a daily basis. But it's still that bad. But to solve these kind of problems, like individuals in our company took up this effort to make this happen, to set up those structures. And even cryptocurrency isn't 100% legal in India, so you had to create those structures first to ensure that these funds can be dispersed, and it doesn't the government doesn't stop them. So even at a personal level, like all of us have come together, done things, and I think one of the reasons why we have such a standing in the market is because of this, because people also feel that apart from being a successful, like let's say, technology company, we also ascribe to the same values as that of the creators of blockchain, or the same values which blockchain intended. which is service to the common man, like power to the common man. So I think at a personal level as well, like we've done many of these things. So yeah, so we're very close and live very close and or live by the values of the technology which we are trying to develop. Wow. So I think, well, I can probably share like a couple of links. So for those who are curious about a network, I would encourage you to check out this community run page. It's called awesomepolygon.com. So it's run by the community. It's updated weekly, and you can see all the different DApps which are deployed on a network, like all the finance, all the gaming, all of that stuff. At the same time, if you want to learn more about a network, you can go to our website, polygon.technology, and you can send us an email. There's an email address. You can send us an email if you want to know more, and we almost always respond to all the emails which we get on a daily basis. So that's about it. And I think the only other thing which I would like to share is that, like, there is there is a lot of like pushback against blockchain technology in general by the governments. I think, of course, these attitudes are changing, as we've seen. Like, Coinbase is now a public company, so clearly the government feels that there is merit in this technology. But I just hope that more people, like, look at it from a technology perspective versus a pure cryptocurrency perspective, which is that this is one place where you trade coins and you make money, and it's like a casino. It's not really that. The underlying technology is capable of a lot more, and really it's capable of impacting lives. And if people saw that angle more, then possibly, like, this token is now the biggest token, or, oh, like, crypto millionaires or whatever. So I think that would, like, really change perceptions, not of people but of governments as well. So yeah, so I think that's the only thing I'd like to share. And yeah, and hopefully we get a chance to interact with the public more. So you can check out our Twitter channel if you have any questions, and we would love to sort of take any questions there as well.